I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
This is Cartoonist Will, and welcome to another Japan Jaunt. On today's Japan Jaunt, we're briefly going to talk about Deadpool Samurai. That's right, there is a Deadpool manga, first released in Japan, and then later translated and brought to the States. Deadpool stars in his own manga. This manga has its own continuity and doesn't necessarily continue from any American Deadpool book, so don't worry about that. You will be able to enjoy this whether you have read the American comics or not. So Deadpool now is an Avenger, and Tony Stark sends him to Japan because money. And hilarity ensues. He meets a new Spider Girl who lives in Japan, who's kind of like some sort of ninja. And he meets whole lots of new characters. We have reoccurring Marvel characters like Captain Marvel, Tony Stark, Iron Man. We've got the Incredible Hulk. We've got Captain Marvel. And then in Volume 2, spoiler, we have All Might. Yes, there is a crossover with All Might in Volume 2 from My Hero Academia. Which, cool thing is, the creator of My Hero Academia actually drew All Might in these panels. So, I think he enjoyed himself with his little crossover, I hope. Don't you think? Anyway, so let's talk about that crossover for a second. So, in this crossover, Deadpool is tossing with Thanos. That's right, we've got some recurring villains too. Loki, Thanos, not sure who else. So, Deadpool needs help, and he tries calling Captain Marvel, but accidentally texts All Might instead. And All Might busts out into the scene, hits Thanos with a Detroit smash, and saves Deadpool. Don't worry, Deadpool, for I am here. And apparently not knowing who Deadpool is, decides to team up with Deadpool, but Deadpool trips and isn't able to deliver his punch, which is fine because All Might, being All Might, is able to decimate Thanos with one United States punch. We wrap up this little crossover with Deadpool saying a few jokes. He breaks the fourth wall a couple of times. Talks about putting the My Hero Academia in his basement for this crossover, and then offers, asks All Might if he can eat some of his hair from any part of his body to gain some of his superpowers. Which is, disturbing, but that's Deadpool for you. And if you weren't aware, in My Hero Academia, that's actually how All Might is able to give his powers to other people. Namely, the main protagonist of My Hero Academia, Midoriya, aka Deku, ate a piece of his hair off of the top of his head. Anyway, this is all for today's Japan Jaunt. I look forward to tracking down Deadpool Samurai and reading it for myself. I hope you do as well. I recommend Shonen Jump. No, I'm not getting paid for this. They have a $2 a month digital subscription, and I think that Deadpool Samurai might be in there because this is published by Shonen Jump. Anyway, I look forward to finding out. Until next time, sayonara!
Nerds, Richard here, taking a moment to talk to you about the podcast. First of all, thank you so much for listening. For those of you who do listen, wherever you listen, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or some other podcasting service, we would appreciate some feedback. Whether that's in the form of subscribing to the podcast there, or following us, or engaging with us in the polls that we have. This is on Spotify specifically. We have polls and questions on almost every episode, so we'd be glad for your feedback. Also, if you'd like to leave us a voice message, you can go to our website. It's anchor.fm/irreverentnerd and click the message button there to leave us a note. We will, as I said, include it on next week's episode. So, nerds, reach out. Let us know how we're doing. And now, back to this week's episode. Nerds!
Nerds.
Richard and Will here.
But not here. They're here.
They're here. Yeah, we are standing in an open field in the heart of downtown Winston-Salem, or near the heart of downtown Winston. Where is the heart of downtown?
In the heartland.
Whatever. I don't know.
Well, probably somewhere near the popsicle in the sky. But I joke.
Well, let's say the Stevens Center. Anyway, we're in downtown Winston-Salem, across from the Reboot Arcade Bar, which, if you follow our Instagram, you've probably seen the little blurb where we advertised this week's video. So yeah, we recorded downtown. We were originally thinking about doing video, and then we realized we probably have to have a permit for that shit. So, so we're just doing audio once again.
Permits cost money.
Yes, they do, and neither one of us have a lot of that. So. Well, Will, we're gonna jump right in because this week we want to save time for our Japan Jaunt and Sci Fi Focus segments.
Right.
So let's jump into our topic, and it is
Jimachan. No, I'm Deadpool. I already did that joke. So, Deadpool. What do you know about Deadpool? What do I know about Deadpool? Are we fans of Deadpool?
My first experience with Deadpool was, let's see. Oh yeah, it was the X-Men movie. My first experience with Deadpool was the 2009 X-Men Origins film, like Wolverine.
Right.
What was the full title of that? X-Men something.
X-Men Origins Wolverine. Exactly what you just said, right?
Yeah, I think
that's it.
So that was my first experience with Deadpool, unfortunately. Which I'm
Yes,
sure Ryan
we can
Reynolds
agree.
would also agree with me that was unfortunate. He was able to infuse a little bit of humor into that performance, but then it just went uber serious, and then they literally zipped his mouth up.
I know.
Which sucked. It would have been so much better if he had been like messing with Wolverine and like telling jokes like as he was fighting him at the end of that film. Spoiler alert, by the way, if you haven't seen it. You've had 13 years to see it, so it's your fault.
Spoiler alert, in Deadpool 2, he goes back in time and kills himself in that movie.
Oh, shit. That is a little more recent, but you've still had time to watch it. So, and if you're listening to a podcast that says Deadpool in the title, you should know. Spoilers.
We're going to break the fourth wall and spoil things.
That's right. I guess there's technically no fourth wall in podcasting unless you're doing like a audio drama, because it's implied that you're already talking to the audience and addressing them, right? So what would, I don't know what the podcast equivalent of the fourth wall would be.
Well, it was just a Deadpool joke.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I don't know. I didn't think that far, Richard.
Will, you gotta think ahead. You gotta plan these things. Come on now.
You mean like today's podcast?
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't have time to research. I do love Deadpool, but it's been a while since I've read the comics.
No, it's okay. I have not done any research either. In fact, we just picked this topic today. Yeah. Which, this is Thursday, by the way, because we're getting back in our groove of normal recording nights. So this is Thursday night for next Wednesday. So if anything Deadpool related, like a big announcement happens between now and then, we'll try to insert like a little blurb like, oh hey, by the way, Deadpool is confirmed to be in the next Thor movie or something like that, whatever. Taika Waititi says.
I do want to see him more with.
I think I'd rather see him with the Guardians of the Galaxy. To be honest with you, I feel like he'd be a better fit. Like he goes to space with the Guardians of the Galaxy. That'd be really cool. That would be pretty sweet, actually.
But really, he's X-Men territory, and
yeah,
I'm confused how he's going to be inserted. But you know what?
I'm confused how the X-Men are going to be inserted.
I know.
Like they kind of shoehorned in Captain Fantastic. I felt like.
Yeah. Well, that was a different multiverse. I mean, we could just have Deadpool be sucked in from a different multiverse. I really think that Deadpool needs to stay in the X-Men universe, and
that makes more sense.
He could just incursion himself into the MCU and then drop back into his own
I would
universe.
love it if he made like just these random cameos.
Yeah.
Like what if he's like walking in the background of a shot, and like only like hardcore fans would be like, oh!
Yeah.
He's just like in the background and he just like gives the camera the middle finger.
Oh yeah, he would do that. Good old Ryan Reynolds.
That would be great, actually. They should totally do that in either a series or one of the movies. Just have him as an extra in the background, and he flips the bird to the camera. That would be funny.
You know, in Deadpool 2, he did call Cable Thanos.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I just love the fourth wall breaking. I love the humor.
Yeah, and that's something I remember you telling me about it back in the day. Like even back before X-Men Origins Wolverine came out, maybe.
Yeah.
Like you tell me about the Deadpool comics. So I know you've liked him for a while. It's like, do you remember your first experience with Deadpool?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can tell you right now, I highly doubt he appeared in the Spider-Man or X-Men series of the 90s. He could have, but I don't think he did. So I'm going to say it had to have been a comic book. You know what? Let's back up. I know my first time I saw Deadpool, I think it was Hulk versus Wolverine, the animated feature.
Oh, he was in that?
He was.
Ha!
And I remember him popping out, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. Who is that guy? He's kind of short. He's kind of funny. He can reattach his limbs and grow them back. And I remember this thought that I had clearly, but what confuses me is if I'm such a big Deadpool fan, why did I not be like, oh, it's Deadpool? And I think it's because I didn't know who he was yet. So that must have been my introduction to Deadpool. Then I had to look him up. I got his comics. As a matter of fact, I have probably the first comic. Probably the first comic I got with him is a trade paperback called Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe. I think that's my first anyway. But yeah, fell in love with the character after that.
Nice. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I was aware of the character before the Wolverine movie. I don't know if I was. I don't think I knew much, if anything. But yeah, like it might have even been that I turned to you for answers. Like, who is this? Who is this strange man?
Help me, Obi-Wan Will Kenobi.
Yep.
You're my only hope.
Well, yeah. Well, I think for me, like obviously that. So far, my only real exposure to Deadpool has been in films. So in the X-Men film first, and then obviously in the Deadpool and Deadpool 2 films that came out recently. Now, I will say I waited a bit to see Deadpool because I'd heard it had like a lot of like gratuitous violence and things like that. I think possibly from you, and so I avoided it for a long time.
I was afraid. I avoided it for a while too.
And then I finally watched it just this. Might have even been this year. It's either this year or just this past year. I finally saw it. I was like, this isn't as bad as I thought. Like, in terms of, like, the violence and all that. And it was... The only thing I didn't like necessarily was, like, making fun of people being killed.
Yes.
That's where I do have to be like, not a big fan of that. But in general, his humor was great. Like, and Ryan Reynolds is perfect.
For me, Deadpool. It is hypocritical for me to be more concerned with the montage of this film, if you remember what I'm talking about, than the actual violence. Someone brought that up to me in the past, and yes, I should have a lot more problem with murder than I should with nudity. But yeah, I didn't know about the nudity going into this film. But that was it for me.
All right, guys. So there's a train coming through. We're going to pause this for a second. And we're back. The train has passed. So why don't we talk about the film for a while? Like, do you remember enough to do a synopsis, or would you like me to give that a shot?
I don't remember a lot of the first film. I remember some bits and pieces, so I know the basic plot. I remember some of the jokes. I really love the second film, though.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I love the second film.
The first one's basically an origin story for Deadpool. Like, we see... I'm trying to remember how he gets killed. Dang
Oh,
it.
well...
I didn't see it that long ago. I've already forgotten how he gets killed.
The first movie,
Oh, yeah, he gets cancer.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, he does.
So he gets cancer, and it's incurable, and that is like the window for this shady organization to come in and be like, hey, we can save your life, sort of, for a price. You know.
Do they explain how he gets his name in that movie as opposed to X-Men Origins Wolverine?
I'm trying to remember.
Because
I probably do. Oh, that's right. It's that I don't know if bounty hunter is the right word, but that bar that he goes to where his buddy works.
Oh.
Where it's like other either bounty hunters or hitmen. I don't know what exactly.
Wasn't that Weasel that was working at the bar?
Weasel?
Weasel.
I don't know if that's his name, but
I think it's the character's name, the nickname.
His friend, anyway, whose name I do not recall, works at the bar. So he goes there, and then
the one who calls him an ugly avocado.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
Weasel.
Okay. I don't remember him being called Weasel in the film, but
he probably
but you may be
wasn't.
right.
That's his comic name.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably picked something different. Dwayne or something. Wayne. I don't know.
It's Corey's boyfriend. Kidding.
But yeah, there is a Deadpool. In other words, there's a running bet on like who's gonna get
You're right, it
killed.
is Wayne.
I think in the line of duty, quote unquote. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there's a Deadpool. So somehow that plays into. I think Wayne is the one that gives it to him in the movie or brings it up.
Yeah.
And then what is? I'm trying to recall. What is the name of Deadpool's character, by the way? Like the actual name.
Oh, Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson. So that's making me question Wayne as the Weasel's actual name, but whatever.
Yeah.
They can have similar sounding names. I don't know. It's been a while since I read the comics.
But no, their relationship is funny in that first film, but like so after he is sort of like he's not resurrected, like he doesn't die that first time, but he comes pretty darn close. Like he's already dying of cancer, so he's like, what do I have to lose? So he takes the offer of the people, and then they basically run a mutant experiment on him, more or less.
Yeah, right.
And it makes him essentially immortal, right? Like I think that's the implication. Like he'd have to like. Has he ever gotten completely? Like, has he ever been exploded in the comics, like completely, and then like comes back together? Like,
probably. I haven't read all the comics.
I know he like loses.
Have a handful.
Well, yeah, I know, but I know he loses his bottom half in Deadpool 2 and grows it back.
He blows up in Deadpool 2.
Yeah, like. Oh yeah, that's right. And somehow.
Well, basically, he can't die.
Yeah.
But if his head is separated from his body for more than 12 minutes, he gets brain damage. Which he has.
It's true. He's also been shot in the head, I think, a couple times.
Yeah, and then he just kind of muffled talks for a while until it all grows back. And he's like, why did you do that?
Oh, man.
He's like that alien from Men in Black 2. Yeah, he's like the alien from Men in Black 2. That stings!
Oh, man. I haven't seen that in a while.
So I was interested because I couldn't remember, but I remember you're right. It does have something to do with the bar scene, how he gets his name Deadpool. Now, in the original X-Men Origins Wolverine, he gets his name Deadpool because they pulled all the dead mutants' genes into him. But in the comics, I haven't read it, but it's if I have this information correct, in the comics, how he gets his name Deadpool, it's similar. He's in a psychiatric ward or an insane asylum after he gets his powers and after his time in the Weapon X program. He's here, and I think the wards. What's the word I'm looking for? The orderlies. It doesn't start with a W. It's an O. The orderlies, I think, are trying to decide which patients or residents are going to bite the dust. So they have this Deadpool going, and they believe he's gonna die. And he does, but he comes back because of his healing factor, or maybe that's how he gets into the Weapon X program. I don't really know since I didn't read the actual origin. But see, that's why I was interested in what is his origin in the movie again? You know, when I asked you that. So that's interesting.
Well, yeah, in the movie, like
that was a rhetorical question.
He gets cancer. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That didn't sound like a rhetorical question.
I purposely made it not sound like a rhetorical question because I was quoting myself earlier.
Ah, okay. All right,
Sorry.
So do you feel like Deadpool 1 and 2, the films were a pretty good representation of his character from the comics, like sense of humor, kind of?
Well, the comics aren't R-rated. I mean, there's definitely language, there's blood and guts in the comics, and that's about it.
No F words, no nudity, etc.
No, I don't think there's no nudity, no F words. What was that third thing?
Gratuitous violence?
Oh no, there's definitely gratuitous violence, but maybe not enough to put an M rating on the book.
Okay. So they like kind of skirt the line, as many comics do.
Yeah, there are some sexual jokes.
Close to the line as they can.
Yeah, we might.
Brady.
I can't remember. There might be some. There's no full frontal nudity, no.
Right. Oh. I was just thinking of where he grows back his bottom half in Deadpool 2.
That
like
was
funny. One of the most. It's hilarious, and it's one of the most cringeworthy scenes I've ever seen in a movie. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch Deadpool 2, and then you'll find out.
Yeah, I recommend Deadpool 2.
Use your imagination. I'm sure you can think of it. Oh man,
he was so short. And he gave this great speech while he was so short.
Is that your hand? Nope.
Well, yeah, some of the stuff is a little too inappropriate for me. I think I just there are many reasons I love Deadpool 2 over the first one, but I'm just going to throw that out there. So,
yeah, it's really good, and like he develops as a character in that, like he becomes. I mean, he goes through some pretty rough stuff. Obviously, spoiler alert, by the way, his girlfriend dies, and or does she? I don't know. Yeah, his girlfriend dies, and that sends him on a little bit of a tailspin.
Yeah.
But then he's kind of redeemed as he hooks up with a couple of the X-Men.
Yeah.
So the lesser known X-Men.
Yeah, they just
X-Men
didn't have the budget for the more well-known X-Men.
Yeah, and but doesn't Hugh Jackman make a little appearance in there? I'm trying to remember. Doesn't he have like a little cameo?
I don't think so. They wanted him to, but I don't think he does. Now, Hugh Jackman did have a cameo in X-Men First Class, though.
Yeah. Excuse me. For some reason, I feel like... Oh, I know what it was. It was...
Oh, it was the ending. The post-credits scene. Is that what you're thinking? That was just rehashed film, though. I don't think they recorded anything new.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. So hey guys, I think we're gonna wrap this up. I know this is like really short, but I feel like we don't have a whole lot else to say unless you do. You do? Okay, well then we'll continue. We have 6 minutes.
I'm kind of glad they got rid of Vanessa for Deadpool 2. I mean, that's kind of sad and dumb because the entire film is about him saving Vanessa, and so Deadpool 2 starts with, the last film, throw it out the window. But in the comics, what's interesting about the Vanessa character is that she doesn't love Deadpool in the comics. Deadpool is just delusional, but she doesn't. And that's the weird thing about Deadpool 1 is because I kept thinking in the beginning of the film, I was like, when are we going to find out that he's just insane and that none of these things really happened? These flashbacks didn't happen. This woman doesn't know who Deadpool is, and if she does, she's freaked out by Deadpool, doesn't want anything to do with Deadpool. But when he finally meets Vanessa again, why didn't you call me and write me in the last year or something? So that threw me for a loop. I was expecting Vanessa to be like No, we never had a relationship. I don't know what you're talking about. You disgust me or something. But in the comics, that's how it is. He doesn't really have a relationship with Weston in the comics. As a matter of fact, I almost called him Ryan Reynolds. Oh, I love Ryan so much in this role. But in the comics, Wade Wilson doesn't even know if he's the real Wade Wilson. There are 2 Wade Wilsons in the comics. And his memory is so messed up, he doesn't know if he's the real Wade Wilson or if this other guy is. And as a matter of fact, he breaks the fourth wall in one of the comics I have and says it depends on who's writing him. Will depend on whether or not he's the real Wade Wilson.
Yes, I'm the real Wade. Yes, I'm the real Wade. No.
So I'm looking forward to if Vanessa returns, because in the comics it was revealed that Vanessa was a mutant all along, and she's a shape-shifting mutant, kind of like she has blue skin like Mystique. At least I think that's how it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she was like pretending to be hot all this time.
Well,
hotness of a different shade.
And to be completely honest, Wade Wilson had a ton of love interest in the comics. Maybe we should save that. My inner love for Deadpool is coming out, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but maybe we could save that for a future podcast, because we're getting way out of movie territory. Do you want me to proceed?
Yeah, that's okay. We brought your comics.
Cool.
we can dive in there. We got.
Cool.
I guess technically we're going to 30 minutes, so we got about 8 minutes. We're breaking the fool. This is the podcasting fourth wall. When you talk about how much time you're going to be talking for, or like how many listens you get,
how we didn't prepare,
how much money we made, how you didn't prepare. That's breaking the fourth wall, and it's damn unprofessional. Richard, stop it.
Darn it.
But
darn it, Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby. Dang it, Ricky.
That does sound better.
Ricky Bobby.
That was a Hank Hill reference.
Oh.
Dang it, Bobby.
Dang it, Bobby.
So, I mean, in the MCU, Thanos originally in the comics, he's not wanting to get rid of half the universe as some sort of twisted hero who's just trying to...
Is he just some punk from outer space in the comics originally? Or
no, he's trying to impress a woman.
Oh.
And that woman's name is Death.
Death.
The Grim Reaper.
Oh, fun.
The female Grim Reaper. And when Wade Wilson dies, I think originally in the insane asylum, but I'm not sure. But some early point or another in his history, he dies and he meets death.
Well, it's interesting because Thanos is the Greek god of death.
Yeah.
So it's kind of redundant, I feel like. Or maybe
actually,
he's looking for his soulmate.
Yeah, I think
believe it. Or at least I think the root of... I think there is a Greek god. I don't know if it's straight up Thanos, but it's like the roots are similar.
Thanatos?
That might be. Anyway, something like that. But
well,
that's
I knew the word
Thanos. Where they
Thanos.
derived the name from, I think.
Yeah.
It was like a Greek god of death or something like that.
I knew the word Thanos itself is related to the concept of death or something. I just forget. But in the comics, Deadpool also falls in love with Death, the female Grim Reaper. And the hilarious thing is that Death actually loves him too, but they're always eternally separated by the fact he can't die. So he's actually trying to die.
Kind of poetic, actually.
Yeah, it is. And Thanos and Deadpool get into it because they're after the same woman sometimes. Well, I mean, they sometimes get into it. But Deadpool's had different love interests in the comics. He even has a daughter that he didn't know he had or something like that. But, I mean, I'm just really interested if they actually do any more Deadpool. They actually do any more Deadpool films. I'm interested in how much they'll lift from the comics and how much they'll leave in the pages.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm pretty sure there is a third one coming, right? I don't think they've announced a title at this point, have they?
Really? They have?
No, I don't.
No.
I don't know of a title yet.
Well, they keep saying they're going to do it, and I haven't seen anything. I mean, I was excited when he appeared with Korg to break the fourth wall and do some sort of review, but...
the
the review was on Free Guy. That was great.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was hilarious.
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I still need to see that.
The review,
I haven't seen
but
Free Guy yet.
The movie was great too.
Okay.
Yeah, I recommend.
I think it's on
Free Guy.
Disney Plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, cool.
Might be on Hulu. Might be on Hulu as well. I think isn't it a Fox property? I think it's a Fox property because they also did. No, it is on.
Oh, it is?
Disney Plus.
Okay.
I know that for sure. It's probably on Hulu as well because Disney owns Hulu.
Oh,
and Disney also owns 20th Century Fox, who made Deadpool, and Deadpool 2, which is why.
I was thinking.
By the way,
sorry,
guys, if you're not following us on Instagram, you can go and check out. From time to time, I will do some promotional videos that involve different impressions. So I made it today for next week's.
Out.
But yeah, it's so it's like if Deadpool and Mickey Mouse somehow merged. Yeah, it's a little weird. And creepy.
Did it disturb your wife?
Oh yes. Yeah. she started she because she follows us on Instagram, and she started watching it and she turned it off. She's like, nope. She hates my Mickey Mouse voice.
I've been busy all day, but I really look forward to hearing that.
Yeah, well, if they have Wi-Fi across the street, I'll have to show it to you.
Cool. Well, I
can show you the uncut version. But yeah. Let's see. All right, we got 3.5 minutes. Fourth wall breaking again. So let's see.
So you want to get a chimichanga after this?
A chimichanga.
Chimichanga.
That's okay. I just ate. Yeah, I had a cauliflower pizza.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's really good, by the way.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was literally like cauliflower with cheese and pepperoni and tomato sauce, kind of all melted together. It was delicious, actually.
But would Deadpool eat it?
Deadpool eating? What would Deadpool eat?
I don't know. I have a comic down
What does
here.
He eat?
I have a comic down here where Howard the Duck becomes Deadpool, and
he's a dead duck.
And Deadpool driving Howard the Duck's body eats a bunch of barf. So, what wouldn't Deadpool eat?
Okay. Why would a duck eat barf? That's another question.
Why would a cartoon Disney duck eat barf?
Yeah, we're gonna. Ugh. No thanks. Well, yeah, he kind of that cover there. He kind of looks like. Yeah, he definitely looks Disney-fied. Like he looks like something out of Darkwing Duck.
Oh, you don't know about Howard the Duck?
No, I know about him, but he wasn't attached to Disney, obviously, back in the day. But yeah, he looks a bit like Donald the Duck, actually. There, that's interesting. Obviously, that's deliberate.
I think it's deliberate.
I'm sure it's deliberate.
I think it's deliberate.
Well, now that Disney owns Marvel as well, it's like you can do weird crossovers like that. They should do Roger Rabbit and Howard the Duck.
That would be hilarious.
Be hilariously disturbing.
Howard the Duck should have appeared in Rescue Rangers. Did you see that?
Oh, the new Rescue Rangers?
Yeah.
I've not seen it yet.
It was actually better than I expected.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard the new DuckTales is good too, but I've not.
The new DuckTales? You mean the
I
old
saw
new DuckTales?
The new version of DuckTales. They have a new...
The one that's
new episodes.
Canceled.
Oh, it already got canceled? Oh, that's too bad.
Are they having new episodes?
Oh, I don't know. It just came out. I'm saying it's new.
Really?
I'm used to the old one from the 80s.
You're not saying the one that came out a few years ago. You're saying one that came out this year.
Whenever it was. Wasn't it 2021 when it came out on Disney Plus?
Well,
they just released one.
Well, on Disney Plus, but it's been on Disney Channel for a while.
Has it?
Yeah.
DuckTales?
You're talking about the one where Huey, Dewey, and Louie all look different, right? And Donald Duck is a permanent character, but he's wearing a black costume.
I don't know. I just know they relaunched or rebooted DuckTales is all I know.
Oh, okay.
And
I
think
Webby
there's only been one new version
girl.
of it since the 80s.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we're talking about the same one because there's only been one, as far as I know. I think now they've done I think they might have done some things with Huey, Dewey, and Louie at some point, but not on legit DuckTales.
No,
until
it's
this past year.
The new rebooted DuckTales is good. It's a little slow in the beginning. I tried watching it.
I think I watched a couple minutes, and I didn't like the animation style.
Yeah.
And it was like too busy. Like the new Mickey Mouse stuff.
The first 2 episodes were good. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the new Mickey either.
It's really violent. I'm like, how did this get more violent? Like this cartoon, like they're already violent enough sometimes in the old ones.
I just don't feel like
somehow
it's
got
Mickey.
More violent and manic. It's almost manic.
Manic.
So I don't let my kids watch it. To be honest with you, it's just like, yeah, this is too much.
I don't know.
That's another topic, as they say.
Yeah.
So hey guys,
this is just free talk now.
Yeah, we are at the 30-minute mark, so we are done talking about Deadpool. So stay tuned for. Not sure which one's going to happen yet. You'll find out when you're listening to this, but we'll either have Japan Jaunt before the Deadpool segment, or we'll have Sci Fi Focus before the Deadpool segment, and whichever one isn't first will come after the Deadpool segment. We're gonna mix it up a little bit. You know, we like to do that.
Mix it up.
That's right. Like last week's episode. You know, we just kind of pulled that one out of our butts and talked about. What did we? Oh yeah, Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
and whatever else came to mind for like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, it ended up being an hour. And 7 minutes.
I
No, it was fun.
Did.
It was fun, man.
Yeah.
I was re-listening to it. And I was like, this is actually really nice. This is just like 2 buddies hanging out, talking about stuff, and it was actually relaxing, to be honest with you.
And I hope you, dear viewer, if you're viewing your screen at this audio because there's something to look at, so maybe a picture of Deadpool, feel the same.
Yes, we do hope you feel the same.
And if you want to hear more about Deadpool, leave some comments.
Yeah,
in the comment section,
or
where they go.
To say, if you have questions for Will about Deadpool, you can ask them.
And I will
you can
pretend
DM us,
to know the answer.
You can DM us on our social media accounts, or leave us a voice message, which, as we have said many times, no one has taken us up on it yet. We're still, fingers crossed, hoping.
Blaine
so hey,
Dwayne.
like even if you're mad at us, you're like, you guys misrepresented Deadpool. Whatever you want to say, leave us a voice message.
You're not real nerds. You're a misrepresentation of my.
And as long as you're not using gratuitous profanity or threatening to hurt someone, or something like that, we'll include it in next week's episode.
You can hurt me. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Sorry, just a joke.
We'll do the tortilla slap contest.
Slap.
Whatever they call it. Where people...
We get the tortillas wet first, right?
No, you got to fill your mouth with water, and then you turn slapping each other with a tortilla until somebody spits, and then that's the loser. I've not tried it yet. I see it on Instagram all the time.
Yeah, but I'm just joking. I kind of like shock humor. I know sometimes it's inappropriate.
That's why I did the creepy Mickey Mouse. I don't know if it's shocking necessarily, but disturbing, I think, for many. Especially my wife. Love you, babe.
And if you want more shock humor and people wanting you to hurt them, go read some Deadpool comics.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap this up so we can go play some arcade games for like 30 minutes. So, let's go.
So long, nerds.
Peace, nerds. Nerds, welcome to this week's segment of Sci Fi Focus. I am going to be talking about WestWorld today. So, WestWorld is one of my favorite science fiction shows of the last few years. I am a fan of what is known as hard sci-fi, i.e. sci-fi that when it's a movie is typically rated R, when it's a television show would be rated MA. And I'm not a fan of it just for that sake, but typically when it's a science fiction show that's well written, well acted, well directed, and it's also mature or R rating, I don't know, those two often go together. But why do I like WestWorld specifically? So, WestWorld digs into some really deep existential topics. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the series, the title, WestWorld, refers to what is essentially an adult theme park in the future. So we're talking mid to late 21st century United States of America. Obviously this is an alternate universe, so to speak. It's a projection into the future, speculative fiction, if you will. And WestWorld is an adult theme park that is in the southwestern United States. And adults from anywhere in the world can come to this theme park and essentially do whatever the heck they want. They can have sex with robots. They can kill robots. Now, I use the term robot. The show typically does not. Like, it refers to them as hosts. It doesn't use the common science fiction monikers of android or robot. But they are artificial life forms that have been created by humans. And Sir Anthony Hopkins is the runner of the show, if you will. Like, he's the one who we are led to believe has created the robots, obviously in concert with some other people. We didn't do it all by himself, but he did much of the programming and the experimentation and the design of the park itself. And Jeffrey Wright's character, Bernard, is there pretty much from the start as well. And you have a few other very important characters who you find out over time are hosts. Dolores being one, Maeve being another. And the basic idea is that these hosts are a part of a narrative that is designed for the human guests. So they run on a loop. I don't know if it's every day, but every cycle. Whatever the cycle is, they run on loops. So the same thing happens. Each guest that comes at the beginning of this loop, they're going to see the same thing, like if they were to come back. So these hosts are running on loops. They're running on narratives that are written by humans. So they're programmed by humans. Now, when one of the hosts is killed, their body is basically dumped down a trash chute to the downstairs basement of this facility. And then they are repaired. And they do checks with them. Basically interviews. It's really interesting. So the humans who run the park, Anthony Hopkins being one, obviously in the first season in particular, he would sit down in a chair across from the host. And he would ask them a series of questions to establish whether they are still in line with their baseline programming. And if he finds aberrations, he'll do his best to fix them. And if he can't, then eventually robots have to be mothballed down to the lower level, and in some cases destroyed. But for the most part, those that are no longer useful get mothballed, and they're just stored downstairs until there's some use thought up for them. So obviously this series operates on a pretty meta level in many ways. So you have the hosts whose lives are run by their human overlords, so to speak. Their programmers decide what they say, what they do, the narratives that their lives run on, how they dress, all of it. And from time to time they will write entirely new narratives where they will redo basically whole sections of the park. And like one you might have, it's a theme out in the Old West, and you find out later in the series that there's other parks that take place, other parts of the park that are taking place in other countries, other seasons of human history, if you will. And the hosts sometimes can cross between, but typically they'll stay within the same area of the park, and they get recycled. So when they get recycled and they're running a new character and a new narrative, ostensibly, their memory is essentially wiped, or at the very least suppressed. And they're not supposed to be able to access any of the memories that they had stored from previous narratives. But for some of the hosts, such as Dolores, such as Maeve, some of the other key characters, some memories start to slip through, and they start to become aware that they are in a narrative. So gradually over time, over the course of the series, the hosts become more and more self-aware and eventually revolt against their creators, which is not a new theme as science fiction goes, but the way that WestWorld does it is it feels fresh and it's interesting. And so they, as you might expect, they deal with a lot of topics such as, like theological ideas of the creator and creation, the interplay between the two, the creation attempting to overthrow the creator. And in the current season, spoiler warning by the way, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen anymore, okay? In the current season, the hosts have won and are now running the humans on loops and narratives and controlling their minds. So it's just really interesting. The tables have completely turned from the first season to the fourth. And there's a lot of interesting drama that occurs in between. But yeah, if you love like deeply philosophical, hard-hitting sci-fi, it is very violent. I will warn you, there is graphic violence, graphic nudity. Most of it's non-sexual, but it's in there. It is on HBO Max, or HBO if you still have cable, those of you that still have cable. But yeah, it's a fascinating show. Some of the main actors, obviously I already mentioned some, Jeffrey Wright, Sir Anthony Hopkins, Evan Rachel Wood, James Marsden, Tessa Thompson. These are just to name a few. Oh yeah, and the other Hemsworth brother. The oldest of the three Hemsworth boys is in it. And he's shorter than both of his brothers, which is interesting. But still buff. All three of them are buff, of course. But yeah, Thor's big brother, essentially, is in this, which is kind of cool. And he's made it all the way to season 4, so he survived. Anyway, but yeah, it's really well done, and like each season you'll have guest actors who will come on maybe just for that season and are important, and then some will carry on. Some of the new characters that got introduced throughout the course of the series have continued on through it, and have gotten maybe new or fresh narratives. And there's just so many things they can play with, in regards to mythology, in regards to like philosophy, theology. They deal with issues related to social media and big data, all of these things. It's fascinating. So I highly recommend it, WestWorld, with some caveats. If you're bothered by graphic violence, graphic nudity, you might want to steer away from it. But if those things don't bother you too much, if you enjoy something with a good narrative, even if it has some of that gritty violence, you will find WestWorld enjoyable. So that's it for today's Sci-Fi Focus. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerds, plural. We are on Facebook. Our fan page is simply called The Irreverent Nerds. We're on YouTube, The Irreverent Nerd. And if you go to anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, you can support us for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can also send us a voice message, which we may include in a future episode. Fellow nerds, until next time, make it so. Engage. Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.
Smithers, who are these irreverent nerds? Well, sir, they're the hosts of this podcast. What's a podcast? Well, sir, it's kind of like a radio show. Ah, I see. Like The Shadow or CBS News. Yes, sir. I think we should buy it. I don't think it's for sale, sir. Poppycock, I just bought Twitter. I can buy this podcast. Alright, sir. I'll talk to them and see what they say. Excellent.